Hi everybody, welcome back to Maiden, Marsh Needlework. Today we're kicking off a new series for tips, tricks, and techniques in cross stitching. This past month we went to a retreat and somebody asked me, how do you manage to stitch with that much metallic thread without it fraying on you a whole lot? And so I thought that would be a really great place to start with some tips, tricks, and ideas on how to stitch with metallic thread. Metallic thread is really nice to work in with because it can make your project really shiny and glimmery. This current project we have in our Etsy shop. It's free to sparkle, and I've got the free two. As you can see, I've already done it, and I'm working on the last word. So I'm going to tell you how I do how I manage with metallic threads. So the first thing is the needle, and I like to use this pony needle. It's a 26 size 26, and it has the blue eye of the needle. So they color the pony tends to color most of their eyes, and so this blue one tends to be really slick and easy to use. I don't like to use it for my personal, like for the cotton threads or silk threads, because it's too slippery, honestly, but it's perfect for metallic threads. The way I discovered this is I was sitting around with a bunch of stitchy friends, and all of us started to like try out each other's needles because we wanted to see which ones, like the different qualities of them and everything. And so this one really stuck with me for metallics. And so that is the needle I like to use. And there's a link in the description below for that. In addition, for this project, it calls for petite treasure braid. To be perfectly honest, if I can substitute petite treasure braid for most of my projects, I do. Some of my older projects, like you may have seen, if you've been around for a while, you saw my 12 Days of Christmas. I kind of stalled out on that project because I was using the kitted metallic, and it was really hard to use. And so I ended up finding a petite treasure braid. It might have even been this one to substitute in. It was a little different, but nobody could tell unless like I asked you to look at it. Like you would not have been able to tell unless you knew about it that those metallics got changed out. And once I changed out those metallics, I was really able to start like really gliding through that project again. So here's the thread that I use. For this one, it's PH04, and I just take off the bobbin, I take an arm's length, like fingertips to elbow is what I take off, and that is it. And I like to have long threads, but not for metallics. That's about as fancy or as long as I like to get with a metallic thread, because they are finicky and they have a tendency to knot up on you. Okay, so I went ahead and I've cut the thread, and now I'm going to add my needle with the blue eye. I just slick it in. Okay. Then once I've got that, I keep maybe an inch or so, maybe about an inch, and then I knot it at the edge. Now remember, this needle is only for metallic threads. Like I don't use it for anything else, so I'm okay abusing it and like making it, not doing the customary things that you normally do with needles, like, and with threads as well. Like it's a specialty thread. It requires special instructions sometimes. So I made a nice little knot. Let me see if I can get that on there. I knotted it around, and that helps keep the fraying. Like once it starts to fray, it'll stay on that side, and it'll leave this side nice and intact. And then on the other end, I use a waist knot. A waist knot is where you tie off the end of your thread, and you make a little knot, and then when you go to stitch, and I'm going to be here, so when you go to stitch, you're going to drop your needle down on one side, and then you have the knot stays on top, and you have a little tail hanging out there, and then you come up the farthest distance away. So I'm going to bring my thread up here, and of course I pulled my tail, but there you go, it straightened out again. That's fine. And then I'll come right back down to make my X, or to make my first leg. And then for metallic threads specifically, I do one stitch at a time. I don't do the first leg across and then another leg to work my way back. I just go one at a time, and I make sure that I'm getting underneath. I'm making sure that that waist knot, that thread is getting caught under, so that I can go that. Okay, I'm going to stitch this thread. Okay, I've come to the end of this thread, and so I'm going to go ahead and flip my piece over and tie off where I left off. So I'm just going to take my needle underneath where I've previously stitched, and not underneath that side because I've already done that one a few times. That took longer than I thought it would. All right, tied that off, and then I'll cut on the back. I'll just cut, I've tied it off, or I've embedded the threads underneath my other stitches. Okay, I'm back here on the front, and I'm gonna go ahead and take the waist knot off. So I pull on this edge, and I make sure I cut just underneath and as close to the fabric as possible. The little bit will go towards the back, and if it doesn't automatically, you can just kind of scrape it there. A few things that you didn't see while I was stitching, I had my finger underneath checking because I was two-hand stitching. I was constantly checking to make sure it didn't knot up on the back, because metallics like to knot up, and so I always try to make sure, one, keeping a short strand is very helpful, but then also I'm feeling to make sure it doesn't knot up. So if it does knot up, I don't pull too hard and make that knot really difficult, and it'll be easy to untie. And then third, those are the two major reasons. So I did that, and then with my floss, I still have, you can see, this was the side that I cut off, the one towards the end, from where the fabric was, and then this other side is all over the place. Like, it's frayed everywhere into every which bit. So the way I take the metallic off here, usually the thread is almost half off already, and I just have to pull on it in that case. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and I'll just take my scissors and do a quick snip on it, and it's easy to pull away if it gets really unruly. So those are my tips and tricks on how to stitch with metallics. So if you have any questions or other tips that you would like to share with the community, by all means, please place them in as a comment, and I'll address them as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and seeing what we had to offer. I hope that this is helpful, and I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribe and give a thumbs up if you enjoy videos like this. Have a great day. Happy stitching.